Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. The big wildfire sent me a message saying he had over 200,000 damage done in an Izumo. I said, bullshit, replayer, it didn't happen. He said, challenge accepted. And this is it. What's so preposterous about that, Jingles? 200,000 damage, alright, it's a fair amount, but I mean, the Izumo's a tier 9 battleship. Well, yeah, that's true. But it's not a very good tier 9 battleship. In fact, the Izumo would be a pretty bad tier 8 battleship. Well, what's so bad about it, Jingles? Well, let's just, to put things into perspective, we'll talk about what's good about the Izumo. In fact, you know, it's a testament to just how inadequate this ship is, that if you go to World of Warships' own official wiki page and you look up the Izumo and you look at its good points, you can't help but get the impression that they're really, really struggling. What do you mean, Jingles? Well, let me read them for you. You ready? This is it. It's reasonably fast. Well, that's debatable. Well, it's not slow. It's got a top speed with the upgraded engine of 28 knots, so yeah, reasonably fast. It has an adequate secondary battery. These are their words. The guns are reasonably accurate, and they're quite good when upgraded. It has an adequate anti-aircraft suite, and it has decent hull armour along the front half of the ship. And that's it. So I'm seeing lots of words like reasonably, adequate, not bad when upgraded. There's really nothing to shout about here. And some of the things that they're claiming about the good points of this ship, like the adequate secondary batteries, are highly debatable. So, what's bad about the Izumo? Okay, well, it's bigger than the Yamato. And that means it's got the worst concealment in the game. This thing will be spotted on the surface from a range of almost 20 kilometers, and that's before it even thinks about firing its guns. It will be spotted from the air at a range of 15.66 kilometers. Also, the superstructure of this thing is very, very tall. And look at the width of the ship. It's the fattest thing you've ever seen sailing the high seas. The ship is so wide that even with a little bit of vertical dispersion to a pattern of incoming shells, shots that would drop short or drop long against another ship are going to hit this thing because the ship's so fat. And high explosive will set this thing on fire. Also, it's got massive sections of armour that are completely worthless and can be penetrated by tier 7 battleships from any angle. Then there's those secondaries. And remember, apparently the secondaries are one of the good features of this ship. Well, it does have a lot of them. You can see them clustered around the superstructure there when the camera pulls back and you see the midsection of the ship. Lots and lots and lots of 127 and 155mm guns. But the problem is, none of them can fire to the front. And that's a bit of an issue on the Izumo because of her unique main battery configuration. She's somewhat akin to a Nelson-class battleship of the Royal Navy. 3 gun turrets, all 3 of them at the front. Which means you kind of need the front of the ship pointing towards something in order to do any damage in the Izumo, and none of the secondaries can fire to the front. So that reasonable secondary battery is only really reasonable if you're showing somebody the side, or even worse, the rear of this ship, because the rear armour on this ship is incredibly weak and will be penetrated by cruiser armour piercing. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't find too many people raising objections if I was to say that the Izumo was the worst tier 9 ship of any class, carrier, destroyer, cruiser, battleship, the worst tier 9 ship in World of Warships. I mean, back when the Kagero was a tier 9 destroyer, it didn't have that many fans. I mean, it wasn't bad. Very, very sneaky little destroyer. Very hard-hitting torpedoes. The guns were useless, of course, and the torpedoes had a monstrously long reload. But it had its fans. And even on its worst days, the Kagero could always hold its head high and say, well, at least I'm not an Izumo. And all this, of course, is after the Izumo's been buffed. It used to be even worse. So, when the big wildfire sent me a message saying he'd done over 200,000 damage to this thing, I thought, well, this has to be seen to be believed. Send me that replay. And this is it. And he hasn't done incredibly well so far, considering... Well, he's not top tier, this is a tier 10 game, but he's only done 15,000 damage. Remember, these are the guns that the World of Warships wiki describes as reasonably accurate and good when upgraded. I don't know how many shots he's fired at targets so far, but easily 30 or more, and he's done nothing but score a bunch of over-penetrations. Still, it's early days yet. There's only 3 ships been sunk, 2 on the enemy team, 1 cruiser, 1 destroyer, and 1 destroyer on the big Wildfires team. So let's see what he can do, because I'm curious, how do you do 200,000 damage in this turd of a ship? Oh, again, flat side of another battleship to shoot at. I wouldn't hold my breath, he's done nothing but over-penetrate and targets just like that so far. And here comes the wall of skill. And, oh, no over-penetrations this time. Now that one bounced. He managed to get the ship turned in, and would have avoided those torpedoes, but they ran out of steam. They didn't quite have the range to reach him. Iowa looks like it's reversing behind the island. This might be the last chance he gets to do some solid damage. From this aspect he can only get the front 2 turrets firing, but finally, at last, a big solid hit right above the armour belt, right in the middle of the ship there, and he scores a citadel. But still, let's not get too excited. It's still just under 30,000 damage in total. And the Iowa is now steaming forward and returning fire with his 16-inch guns. And yeah, I really don't think the big Wildfire is coming off evenly in this damage trade. He's taking a lot of damage, a seriously large amount of damage. He's fired up his damage repair, trying to recover some of that, and that's a big old pain train steaming around the front of the island up there. Now, under normal circumstances, in just about any other Tier 9 battleship, you'd be steaming straight on towards a whole bunch of flat-sided targets like that, with the bows of your ship pointing towards them, and thinking, yep, damage farming time, and he is doing damage. But he's taking a lot more than he's doing. Look at the battering this ship is taking. And he would probably have been sunk here if it wasn't for the friendly destroyer up ahead, pulling a hero move and dropping a smoke screen for him. And now that he's undetected, he's got the opportunity to inflict some serious hurt on these enemy battleships. His anti-aircraft guns are busy chewing up aircraft as he's sitting here undetected in the smoke. And he's holding his fire and waiting until this guy commits to the turn. Come on. Stops to thank the destroyer for saving his ass, which was nice of him. He's got the rear, well, it's the rear most of the 3 turrets. Shots out. Come on. Well, no citadels, but he's up to 62,000 damage done. And that guy is now in range of his secondaries. Normally this would be suicide in the Izumo. Turning the ship at that kind of angle, you're just asking to be citadeled. But he's in a smokescreen, so he can sit here farming damage. That guy appears to be reversing. Oh, he's got the side of the ship to shoot at yet again. Come on, let's see some citadels. Shots out. That's more like it. Okay, right now we're talking. 95,000 damage. Still, that's just less than half of what he promised. He's not going to make up the rest of it on that Yamato, that's for sure. That guy, well... Oh! Did you see that? Finished him off with the secondaries. I always find it amusing in these high-tier games when a battleship gets a close quarters expert award by finishing off a ship more than 7 kilometers away with its secondary batteries. Well, we're now over 100,000 damage. Again, you know, he's getting some armor-piercing penetrations, but he's getting an awful lot of over-penetrations when these shots, the vertical dispersion is putting the shots through the superstructure of the ships that he's firing at. But, oh, come on, baby. It's the Iowa again. Come on, nose forward, do it, do it. Come on, do it, what are you waiting for? Do it. Oh, he's starting to reverse, you're just going to have to take the shot. Oh, yes, that'll do. It wasn't a lot of damage, but hey, a kill's a kill. That's a Tier 10 and a Tier 9 battleship sent to the bottom. But now the big Wildfire is in a spot of bother, because the smoke screen has dissipated, and while his AA guns are chewing up fighters, that's a gross occur first. And he is well inside his secondary battery range, and watch his health evaporating. It would not be at all surprising to learn that that guy was spec'd for secondaries because it's a German battleship, and that's pretty much what they do. So, 136,000 damage done. You're practically dead. How are you going to do 200,000 damage in a tier 10 battle in this thing? The more astute among you have probably already realised exactly how he manages to pull it off. Ramming speed! There's no way he's going to survive a close quarters fight with the grosser Kurfürst. He's farming damage on the turrets at the back there. He's not even going to attempt to score damage on a Kurfürst at that kind of angle with his main battery guns, and he does score some hits on the turrets. And I think the Kurfürst has just realised what he's going to do, and it is far too late. And this, boys and girls, is how you do 200,000 damage in the Izumo. You find a tier 10 battleship and you ram him. The Kurfürst was exceptionally salty about that. That definitely rustled his jimmies. Is there in chat? Idiot! Big Wildfire's just thanks. It's his highest damage scoring game so far, 207,000 damage in the Izumo in a tier 10 battle. The Kurfürst is like, yeah, nobody cares. I care. So we can categorically prove that your statement is incorrect, Mr. Kurfürst. I care, and I suspect a lot of you guys probably care as well. So, what do you know? Oh, he's just bitter. So that is how you do over 200,000 damage in what tier for tier is possibly the worst ship in World of Warships. That's the Big Wildfire. 207,000 damage, close quarters expert, and high caliber in the Izumo, the shockingly bad Japanese tier 9 battleship. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.